Los días 10, 11 y 12 de mayo 2019. Gran campaña evangelística. Te esperamos.
Que me entregues tu alma y tu vida.
This is WPRF 96.9, Newport in the Hartford.
Sintoniza este y todos los domingos de 9 de la mañana a 12 del mediodía El Balance Mañanero, un programa de prédicas, reflexiones, enseñanzas, oración, noticias y mucho más con su director José Espinal. La mañana de los domingos tiene lluvia de bendiciones de 9 a 12 en el programa El Balance Mañanero. El Balance Mañanero. A través de Restauración 96.9 FM.
No te pierdas este y todos los sábados de 10 a 12 del mediodía. El programa Clásicos Inolvidables. Clásicos Inolvidables. Con todos los clásicos de la música cristiana de ayer y de siempre.
Te estoy mirando a ti.
Clásicos inolvidables.
Las 99 dejo en el aprisco.
Esta es la música que te remonta a tus tiempos.
Si no fuera por ti, ¿qué sería de mí? Andaría perdido en el aire, hoja seca que el viento deshace.
Recuerda, este y todos los sábados de 10 a 12 del mediodía, el programa Clásicos Inolvidables. Por esta, la nueva Radio Restauración 96.9 FM, restaurando al mundo.
Yo quiero que el mundo sepa lo que tú has hecho en mí. Tu amor me ha perdonado, me tomaste en tus brazos y me has dado salvación. Yo quiero que el mundo sepa lo que eres para mí. Eres tú mi gran tesoro, mi Dios fuerte, eres mi todo, mi esperanza y mi razón. Y de tu amor no me podré escapar. Seré fiel hasta el final. Toda mi vida cantaré de tu grandeza y de tu amor. Toda mi vida tú serás mi fortaleza y mi pasión. Sin ti mi vida es un cielo que ha perdido su color. Y que todo el mundo sepa que por siempre tú serás toda mi vida y mucho más.
Y sí, seguimos aquí en la buena sintonía de 96.9 FM, su amigo Carmelo, aquí con el programa Carmelo y el Pueblo, como todos los lunes y miércoles, trayéndole lo mejor en programación y información. Para mí tengo el gran placer hoy de tener mi gran amigo Dan Salerno aquí, parte del concilio de la ciudad de New Britain, una de nuestras personas que está ha estado muy envuelto en la comunidad, también con 96.9 FM. It's always good to see my good friend Alderman Salerno, and we also waiting for Alderwoman Katie Breslin. So in the meantime, I was going to start with ladies first, but since she's not here, we start with gentlemen first.
Well, hola, my cugino. You're in Sicilian, you're my cugino, so you're my cousin, see?
That's okay. Like Spanish people say, entre familia. We are in the family.
That's right. Well, enjoy being here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. There's a lot of information. I prior to that had... during the month, we had the last several weeks, I should say, we had Mayor Stewart, we had Superintendent of School Nancy Sarah, we had State Representative Robert Sanchez. So I got in their perspective. Hopefully, that's where all the questions are going to come out of it. I have the state make a statement saying they have given the city of New Britain money. I got the mayor, Erin Stewart, proposing a budget, and she's hoping she get more money. And then I have the board of education stating they're not getting enough money. So I'm glad that I have the other part. The guys, you know what? Because I always hear that even though we have a mayor but it boils down to councilman. If it goes good, it goes to the mayor. If it goes bad, it goes to the alderman because they didn't provide or they didn't vote. So
or they don't show up to vote.
Well, you know what? I hope they're showing up to vote because that's why they get voted. It is to represent the city and the constituents.
Yeah. Shame on me for saying that, but when you don't, you don't. And that's all, and you can't afford to be able to do that in our municipal government.
I expect the truth, la verdad, y solamente la verdad. I only expect the truth, and I'm glad that, hey, if they have to be called out, they have to be called out on what it is. So, I know that the mayor proposed a budget for the city of New Britain. Yo sé que la alcaldesa propuso puso su presupuesto para que el concilio lo apruebe. The mayor put her budget for the city council to vote on it. Well, look at it, vote on it. La pregunta grande del $1,000,000, the $1 million question, Alderman Salerno.
It's more than $1 million.
Es más de $1 millón. You're right there. Más de $1 millón. ¿Cuánto fue la cantidad que la alcaldesa Erin Stewart propuso en su presupuesto? What was the amount that the mayor Erin Stewart proposed on her budget, her total budget amount?
Yeah, well, the previous budget last year, and that would be totally Board of Education and the city side, both operating budgets, was $237 million.
And that was 2018.
That 2018, 2019.
Okay, right. El presupuesto que la alcaldesa puso para 2018 fue de 237 millones de dólares.
And there's basically been an increase in the budget, but not necessarily an increase in the cost. What I mean by that is that though there's an increase, we've been able to do it by revamping and other resources, so we won't raise any taxes for 2019, 2020 to $242.456 million.
456.
Now that's right now. That's the proposal from the mayor after the Board of Finance and Taxation came in with pretty much a flat budget, except for just a few increases.
So hold on.
Yep.
So, el año pasado era 237 el presupuesto. Este año la alcaldesa Erin Stewart ha propuesto un presupuesto de 242.456 de millones de dólares para 2019. So you said,
can I go back on that, Carmela, for a minute?
Sí.
If I want to take people to, and I'll go slowly so we can get the good translation. You go back to January, February of 2019, where the Board of Finance and Taxation takes the request from all the departments on the city side.
¿Y cuánto fue eso? How much was that? The finance committee?
What the requests were not what the Board of Finance and Taxation proposed, and that was taken out of context.
Okay. Pero ¿cuánto fue? ¿Cuánto fue? How much was the amount that they
I don't have the exact number, but it was an increase of about it
was a lot more.
$13 million, which is what it looked, what the proposal was from the board from the various departments. The board of Taxation only reported that this was the increase, but for the most part did not give that kind of increase. But the newspaper and other sides of the council presented it as if the Board of Finance and Taxation was proposing that to the mayor, and they did not.
Sí, él dice que a veces el otro partido, cuando los comités se unen para poner estas propuestas, se lo proponen para que entonces a ver si la alcaldesa lo acepta y después de eso se añade o se quitan. Él quiere dejarle saber que lo que salió en el periódico fue exactamente eso, otras cantidades que se pusieron de propuestas, pero no quiere decir que eran parte del presupuesto.
So, and then after that, the mayor's proposal comes in, and basically, though there's a 2% increase in the overall budget, that because of other sources, and I can go through some of them, right. The mayor was able to make a proposal that basically gets a balanced budget, does not increase taxes, and meets the requirements of certain entitlements, plus gives $3.1 million of revenue of revenue that we can use as options in the city to the Board of Education for the first time in probably 20 years.
The part that it's hard for me to sometimes to understand. I know that when a lot of the agencies come together, they put their budget, and then the finance committee comes together and they take those numbers, come together, and they say, okay, this is the total. But if it seems like I never heard a year that they came with numbers that are realistic. I mean, they always you can ask all you want. I don't mean you're gonna get it, but especially in tough times, it's hard to believe that somebody will ask for all that money knowing that it's impossible to a certain extent, unless you raise the taxes here, 30 or 40%.
I won't speak for all the department heads personally, but having been a department head, having been a town manager, and having worked in organizations, one of the things when you put a budget together, there's different ways. But one of the ways is you're the executive director and I'm the department head, and you say to me, okay, Danny Salerno, what is it you're looking for to 2019, 2020? So what I give you is, in many ways, it's a wish list. If we had the money, here are the things that the Park and Recreation would want to do, that the water department would want to do, that any of the other departments in the city say, here's what we would like, and they propose that, knowing full well it's going to get cut. And that's not anything that is unprofessional. That's how things are done. I mean, you see that in the federal level. You see it at the state level. I mean, there's something like 3,000 bills that go into the state legislature. But
if you know, what I'm saying is, if you know that the next step, the mayor or the council is going to go, yeah, right. Matter of fact, go back into the drawing board and start cutting, and I want a lean.
We're already at the marrow of the anatomy. We don't have any more bone to cut. And the fact is, they offer more, saying, if we have the best situation, what will we do? And I'll give you an example. Go ahead if you want.
No, I'm just laughing because in the Spanish people, we're saying that ya se sacó el jugo, lo que queda la pepa. You took the arm and you squeeze it hard, and all you see is just the seeds.
That's right. Yeah. And so whether or not it seems realistic for departments to do that, it gives the Board of Finance and Taxation and ultimately the mayor to say, well, here maybe there are some things that we would have to increase. Let's say it was equipment that was really necessary that might have to be included. Then at least you could see that based on the proposal. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. I'll use the example of assistant deputy police chief. That took 6 years to get a deputy police chief there, and it was put in the budget every year. It just never was funded. I don't know if the fire chief has put in the deputy chief, but people say that they ought to have one. Yeah. At the same time, it might take, I don't know how long that's going to take before that gets funded. So to put that in is I don't believe, is a negative. It tells me what you think you can better operate your department if you had the opportunity to be able to do that. But I don't know if you want to translate.
No. Go ahead. No, we got to limit the I'm just going to summarize on a couple of the hot stuff.
And I'm sorry for being so detailed. But,
no, it's okay.
So, but the point is that what that proposal was not reflective in what the Board of Finance and Taxation sent to the mayor at all. Mm-hmm. They said, look, here's what we offered. Here's what was offered to us, but here's what we're telling you. Right. So for only a few aspects, the fire department got some increases. There were a few other small increases. Basically, for public safety equipment, everybody else pretty much got, for the most part, flat funded from the Board of Finance and Taxation to the mayor's office.
Now, going back to the other side, because they didn't receive the proper funding, any other agency, are we going to lose any services in the city of New Britain?
No, we're not. And that's...
Le acabo de preguntar que porque muchas de las agencias no pudieron recibir la cantidad que ellos están pidiendo, si la ciudad de New Britain va a perder servicio. Y el Alderman Salerno dice que aunque se recortaron algunos servicios, se recortaron en el presupuesto, no se va a perder servicio en la ciudad de New Britain. What about the quality?
Yeah. I think quality maintains
of the service
and actually improves, because over the last 4 or 5 years, going to 6 years now under this administration, what the mayor has emphasized, and certainly the council members that have been there for that long have supported, is that department heads have been expected to work on the budget that they have. They don't have higher expectations. OT, though it might have been overtime that might have been cut, for example, part of that was covered by extensive cross training. So, for example, in Public Works and Park and Recreation, there are other departments that have a lot of cross-training. They've learned to be able to do. They've been instructed to be able to handle some activities that before that they couldn't or didn't have to do. And so that's one way you keep the quality and actually improve, how you're developing your services.
So you're saying that even though agency or department didn't receive the quality of that service, is still being provided to the people of New Britain.
It's still being provided to New Britain, but I would like to I'll give it again. This is I'm the only one speaking to this. This is not for any member of the council. This isn't what the mayor's position. This is my position.
I always invite all of them, but I invite anyone to come, but
but it's a perspective.
It's only some of the brave ones that show up.
Yeah, right. Well,
and I appreciate it. Gracias.
Brave or not very smart in my case. I'm not sure which, but
no, being smart. You know why? Because the people. If you come to Carmelo and Pueblo, I'm just going to ask you the question that people that voted for you or voted for the constituents that voted out there wants to know. Because we're talking about $242 million that Mayor Stewart, the budget that was put out there, and that she spoke about it, and people want to know where the hell $242 million is going to come from, and how she comes out with that amount of money. And I'm glad that you guys are, those who come are able to say, you know what, I either support or not support the mayor, but at least we get the information that is provided out there. And I'm not saying that the mayor provided her information, but it's good to see both sides. And I'm glad that with the city that we have with high taxes, we need to know where the money's going to, and knowing what's if we're gonna lose services, and we're not gonna lose, because you hear what we call the bochinche. We hear the gossip up there that we're gonna lose this, we're gonna lose that. So we try to filter what is the truth and what is the lie and what is just the gossip. Which of the department is the most expensive one? Which of the city in Britain agency is the most expensive one?
Wow, I'd have to dig through my book over here exactly. My sense would be that the way it's been consolidated, the Public Works Department is probably our largest department, because it also includes, in part, the Water Department, if you will, and Park and Recreation Department. But they have there's like separate divisions. They have their own directors.
I don't mean on people, on expense. I know that half of the budget goes to the Board of Education.
Well, that's why I didn't say that, and shame on me, is that the problem is that's how the Board of Education is viewed or not viewed by some. The Board of Education, by how I interpret the charter of the city, states that the Board of Education is in fact a department of the city of New Britain.
Okay, well, but hold on.
The state does not recognize that, because we do not control or influence, I don't know how much we influence, a penny out of the Board of Education's operating budget.
But the budgets let's use the example.
So in that case, the Board of Education is the largest at about $126 million.
Because if I have the pie, if I'm looking, I'm just going to start creating a pie here, a big circle here, and out of $242 million plus, how big is that piece of pie going to them?
Somewhere between half and 52%.
All right. So now I'm just going to draw.
Exactly, I can't tell you that.
Right. I'm going to draw the line.
I should know that, but shame on me.
No, it's okay. It's going to. I believe she asked, was it 100? I left my other notes. 131 million, or 100. I believe it was 125 million that it was asked. They're getting, but she asked for 131, I believe. Right. Now, so let me just draw a line right in half here, my circle. So I only got a half. I gave one out of my whole pie. I just gave the Board of Education half of my money. I only got a half. It could be a little bit 1% more, 2 or 3 more. I only got a half. Out of that other half that I have, is someone's going to have a quarter or a third of that amount left? which other department is going to cost me the most?
Well, again, I would say in some order in terms of amounts, it would probably be the Public Works Department.
Okay.
And which would include the Water Department and Park and Recreation. So when you split that up, there's really, Mark Moriarty is the head of Public Works. There are division people who are head of Park and Recreation, Water Department. But they, in their own right, have the largest staffing. My guess is looking at numbers out of 400 plus, 460 plus, 560 plus employees in the city. Obviously, Public Works, and then Park and Recreation, and then Water Department.
But the reason I'm saying
Right.
the reason that I'm coming with this follow-up question
And of course,
is
then Public Safety, then it's police and fire.
Well, that's where I'm going to go, because on the newspaper we were reading an article, and Mayor confirmed that the fire department needs another $500,000 to cover the cost. So that's $500,000 going somewhere else. So then that means that some of the departments are going to cost you more then. So if you have the fire department right now, I don't know what is their regular budget, but they need another $500,000 to cover that, then that means they're probably just growing. They're probably your second biggest department in the city of New Britain. Can I be right, or am I wrong? I mean, any other department needs $500,000 right now.
You would have to talk to the department heads. I tell you what they think would be.
No. I mean, has anybody come to has anybody else going to come to the council and ask for $500,000 right now? We know the fire department needs $500,000.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, so there's where we go back to. The city has $242 million budget, but we know that one of the department needs $500,000 more to cover their expense. How the city of New Britain is able to balance budget without raising taxes, but we know that $500,000 is needed. Where's that extra money comes from?
Well, part of what it comes through, and this is just one example, is that if people would recall that the foresight of the mayor's office and the council approved this several years ago, 2015, I'm going to say, we created a tax stabilization account, which basically placed some money in the form of a contingency, if you will, as a tax stabilization rate. It was about 500, and don't quote me on each figure on this, about $540,000. Not a lot, 589, I think it is. Not an exorbitant amount of money compared to the level, but that was one of the ways that was applied to the general budget, for example. There were certain things that had to be funded, obviously. We have, mandates, which is, for example, our medical self-insurance, which is $4 million. There's a MERS mandate that's $1.5 million, which is part of a pension process that the city and the state have been in contract with for a very long time. An increase of delinquent tax collection, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Where we've increased to over 97%, which means only about 3.5-4% of taxes that are supposed to be paid don't come in independently.
Yeah, tú sabes que
we have to chase them down sometimes.
Creo que fue una buena idea. De que ustedes decidieron de traer una agencia para que colectara ese dinero. Creo que fue una excelente idea. La alcaldesa Erin Stewart dijo que se ha colectado mucha cantidad de ese dinero. I believe that it was a great idea getting an agency to collect that money. Mayor Stewart was saying that money is coming real fast now that someone else is collecting the amount from all those delinquency.
We've repaired some of the problems that existed before in terms of delinquency over the years, and then we're not selling any more liens, which was previously done back in 2011, 2013, before the mayor was elected, where there was where liens on properties were actually sold to another company, and we lost all of that.
Sí, porque me imagino que se vendieron a peseta por dólar. As I can imagine, when you sell the liens, they probably sold them, for a quarter, something that was worth $1.
Well, sure, but $0.25 is more than if you get nothing from the dollar.
Right.
So from that standpoint, more that was collected.
But I like the idea that you guys are collecting a lot more now.
We're collecting a lot more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now I'm glad that compared to what they were selling the lien, now the company's saying, you know what, we're going after you.
Right. And every $1,000, we're going to get a percentage of the $1,000 that they collect, which is again better than nothing.
Better than nothing
because we haven't been able to go out and collect.
Now the question also. With those delinquency taxes, a lot of those, do we have like big names as companies they were being delinquent and not paying to the city of New Britain?
I have to plead ignorance on that. I don't get that close to those delinquent. Again, my approach.
Because I'm not talking about like people and stuff like that. Because everybody could be late. I've been late in tax before, but I'm talking about. I'm hoping.
I don't care if you're late as long as you pay. Remember, you pay interest if you're late. So
they make more money.
I've actually said to people, maybe we all ought to just pay late once because nobody listens to me on that.
Yeah.
And if we all just paid late for 6 months, imagine how much revenue we'd have if everybody gave another $25 to the coffers. But nobody wants to do that.
No te quiero dar más chavo. I don't want to give you no more money.
That's right.
What I'm saying.
I use that half kiddingly, but
but it's
you can
true.
never blame anybody who doesn't pay on time. You pay on interest.
You're a good businessman.
Well,
hombre te saca el dinero.
Go ask Target. Go ask Nordstrom's. Go ask Macy's or anybody else. Go ask Kohl's. They like when you put things on a credit card, don't they? Because you pay interest.
Yeah.
So you buy $150 worth of clothes apparel
and take 30 years to pay for it.
Take 30 years to pay. We're not asking you to pay 30 years. Our interest rate's a little lower than Kohl's, I think so.
Pero yo estaba un poquito curioso saber si tenemos compañías que pueden pagar y no han pagado. I was just curious if we have big companies that, if they're on that list, wow, shame on them.
To my knowledge, there are no major companies that do that.
Yeah.
No. I think there are some that are delinquent that have been, again, some people scofflaw at that point. That list can be gotten, by the way. That's public information. I just don't have that.
Right.
Directly.
¿Y cuántos millones
It's not my department. That's tax collector's department.
No. ¿Y cuántos millones eran que le debían a la ciudad? How many millions was that they were owing the city of Britain on the tax collection that you guys been
in millions? It's very small.
Oh, it was small. Oh, okay. I thought it was
proportionate to it's not 10%. Again, it's 3%.
Oh, 3%.
That's not being collected. That doesn't mean it won't be collected though either.
Okay.
Remember, that's based on a 97% collection rate.
Yeah, no. I was wondering.
And again, a tax collector would explain it much better than
No. I was just wondering how much was that. How much was the total amount that people were delinquent in amount? Yeah. If it was 100,000, 200,000.
Well, no, it's probably more than that, but it's probably. But again,
under $1 million.
I'll use an example. Well, it might even be more than $1 million. But let's say it were. Let's say, and I'll just give an example. Let's say it was 2.7 million, because I don't know what the figure is. It sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money to anybody listening and to me. But the fact is, what that represents is 1 mil. If you will, of a total reduction in taxes, if we use that as a number. But compared to a collection of 242 million, it represents literally less than 1 or 2% of the total amount of revenue. That happens in any situation, any business, anything at all. You're going to get, and then what happens is sometimes there's too much of a cost to go out and collect all of that. Right. So when you're at a 97% rate, that's pretty promising. I can tell you right now, there are cities in the state that do not even, hit that mark even close.
Well, we hearing that I think it is in Massachusetts or somewhere they own millions of dollars in tolls they haven't been able to collect it. So when you owe millions of dollars on something, mi gente nos pueden llamar al 860.
But we're aggressive about it. The point is that we're aggressive about those collections.
Okay, 860-924-0584 si tiene una pregunta para nuestro Alderman Solano del Concilio, nos puede llamar 860-924-0584 si tiene una pregunta o una inquietud o un complaint acerca de la ciudad de New Britain. Hoy es el día para llamarnos. 860-924-0584 pueden ser las preguntas. Okay. Now,
another factor, just to throw it out here, Camilo, is, and it's not the same as your budget, but if you look at the grand list, which is the total amount of property that's assessed in the city, that we have increased the grand list now 3 to 4 years in a row. This year it went up about 1.17%. That's off of billions of dollars, literally, of what property is valued. You just don't take that and transfer it to your budget as such. It just means what your value is. It's like if you make $50,000 a year, but you own $180,000 home. right? The home value is there. You own that home. Well, the bank owns the home, really,
Right.
but you're paying on the mortgage. But it has a certain value to it. So you may make $35,000 or $50,000 a year, but you're really worth $200,000 a year in the sense if you sold that home, provided or the remainder of your mortgage, you'd have. That's what your overall property values would be, and it's the same. From my standpoint.
But we're talking about the property
grand
value.
list is the whole city's wealth, if you will.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, al final del día, la gente quiere saber cómo se pueden bajar los impuestos, por qué los impuestos están muy altos, el cual causan de que las rentas sean más altas en la ciudad de New Britain. O sea, at the end of the day, the average folks out there that have a house, their concern is why my freaking taxes are so high. And when taxes are high, it also create the rent to be also. In Britain, you can get a 3-bedroom apartment probably on the $13, $14, $1,500 rents.
Yeah, but you can't get things for less than that anywhere else. One of the reasons that people come to the city, it's still less expensive to live here than if you were living in Newington or Farmington or Plainville or Rocky Hill or Wethersfield or Hartford. We're under what they used to call the SMSA, which is the Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area. It's a long name that basically defines like what you could charge in terms of rent for a single, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. We fall in the Hartford area, which really kind of dictates often what we're able to charge within those confines.
So what
we're
you're
still
saying,
less expensive than everywhere else.
So you're saying we have cheap taxes here?
Pardon?
So you're saying our taxes are low here?
No, I never said the taxes. They're lower than Hartford. I have no problem with that. Yeah, I could say that. I could say that we're lower than a number of other cities and towns in the state. But that doesn't help us when we know that our mill rate is higher than anyone would like to see it.
Nosotros tendremos la esperanza. Usted no sabe que
Nice try, Carmelo.
Me encanta estar con el señor Salerno. Es un gran amigo. Pensamos bien diferente, pero siempre tiene la contesta. Said that we might think very differently, but I enjoy having you. You make me laugh. Tendremos la esperanza.
This is serious business, and I concur.
No. You got you got to laugh. I mean, the pain sometimes is so deep that you got to laugh. Tendremos la esperanza de que un día los impuestos puedan bajar. Can we have the hope one day that taxes will go down in the city of New Britain, the mill rate?
I'm going to give you my answer, and that is, and that's from me. And this is always hard for people to accept, but I tell people publicly this.
Dino la verdad. Tell them the truth. Tell how it is. You've always been like that.
We can never, ever see taxes as revenue go down. We can only see them proportionally increase based on the overall economy.
Okay.
We live in a capitalist system. In fact, we're hearing all this conversation about what's socialistic and what's capitalistic. Capitalism is about growth. So every time something grows, prices increase. People want more wages, healthcare costs, which we don't control. We know it's one of we're victims of the healthcare system in this country, in the city of New Britain, and everywhere else. What we want to do is maintain as best we can any growth in our taxes, and more important, it's what quality of services you're getting when you do pay your taxes. It's like anything else. You go and buy something that's reasonably nice. You buy a piece of equipment or a supply or a piece of clothes or a nice car. You want that car to work. You want it to be a quality car. So you end up paying more for it, if you will. And we're in a situation where we're paying on bills from previous times. We'll probably always be paying on bills from previous times. That's why we bond, because we can't afford to be able to take care of the roofs of schools or smaller schools. A $42 million price tag that's going into it, and eventually somehow we have to pay for that. So all I'm saying is this, though.
Okay.
That I don't want to see taxes go up. They're not going to go up this year, and we think we have to take 1 year at a time. The assumption being is they're never going to go up. I always say to people, if people tell you they're going to lower their taxes first, ask them how, and then when they can't give you the answer because they don't have an answer, then maybe you just don't vote for them.
Él dice si una pregunta.
Tell them the truth.
Está hablando la claridad de que para tener cierto servicio y cierta calidad requiere un precio que casi siempre sube. Él dice, si una persona le dice a usted que va a bajar los impuestos, debe tener mucha precaución en cómo, en la respuesta que la persona le dice cómo va a reducir los impuestos. You said things grow, things, for services. Do you believe that the school system in Britain is properly funded?
No, I don't. I mean, I think it's I think it is more than properly funded through the city, and I'm going to explain that.
So you say it's properly funded, but at the same time you're saying that it's not properly funded.
Yeah, I think.
So which of the two is it?
I think it's as funded as well. And I'm going to go to what we did this year as an example. 3.1 million in revenue on the revenue side, which is not part of our MBR. Our MBR is from the state's interpretation of what we must meet. Every year, we must fund the same level of the budget of the school system.
Right.
We can't ever lower it. We always have to maintain that.
Right.
Obviously, prices go up, costs go up on both sides, the education side and the city side. So, but what has happened for years, and this is my interpretation of it anyway. We do receive dollars over the years, the last 15 or 20 years, that the city has the option to say, well, I'm either going to put it toward education, or I might put it to fix some roads, or I might put it to something else that helps the operating side of the city. And frankly, we haven't done that. And it's not about Republican or Democrat. The free administration for years has not provided those dollars, from my experience. This year, we finally are saying, and the mayor has offered as a proposal, that this time we're not going to keep it on the quote-unquote city side. Remember, Board of Education is still the city budget, so we're really just transferring it to one side of the city to the other side. But now we're going to do that, which is an increase of what we have normally provided as a city.
But that's the big question.
But the state hasn't provided that much more. I think that's the issue of where we go. They're supposedly now we're at 4.1. I just received some information from one of the state representatives the other day, and basically, the state for the next 3 years, 19, 20, and 21, are flat funding the school board.
All right, hold on there. Now we open a whole can of worm in here. Now this is the question that I have.
2 million plus every year, 19, 19, 20, and 21. That's the projection.
Right. The budget proposed that they're going to get 3.1, but the folks at the Board of Ed saying that's the money that you guys supposed to give them anywhere on the special for the special something, disability kids, that there's a fund that came in that you guys already owed them. So if you guys owe them the money and you're saying you're giving them 3.1, is that money that was supposed to already have been given to them?
That's the money that they might have wanted, but it wasn't a question of owing. It was a question over the years of priorities. If the city said, no, we're not providing that, and again, for an assortment of reasons. Look, the Board of Education and the city have had varying kinds of relationships over the last 15 or 20 years, and I'm old enough to know because I've watched them all. There's some people who are listening who might not have been born when some of these things happened. But there's always been, a question of where the Board of Ed and the city. We're always promoting it. Because there isn't anybody on this council, by the way, Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated, who doesn't support education. I want to make that perfectly clear.
So why they don't get the money that they asked for then?
We just don't control how that money is spent on the Board of Education.
Pero ustedes dicen que quieren darle dinero a la Junta de Educación, pero la Junta de Educación siempre dicen que ustedes no le dan suficiente. The Board of Education, the Board of Education always says, and we had Nancy Sarah here, just like I said a couple of weeks ago, you guys say you give money, but you guys not given the proper amount to have an adequate school system.
Yeah, well, we disagree. Okay. And again, because remember, we are still bent on the overall city in property taxes. That our property taxes pay for schools, our property taxes pay for the city operations, for public works, for the water department, the filtration plant, police and fire, and everything else that the city has to do that people... Sometimes we take it for granted, honestly. We don't realize how much is done every day. Even if you're not getting it directly yourself, you don't see it immediately. It's happening maybe to your neighbor. Maybe it's happening to somebody in the neighborhood. Maybe it is happening to you overall. So when that is said, and that has been said publicly, I totally disagree, and I'm going to give you an example. Every year, for the last 10 years only, I'll give you the numbers. We have spent in our debt service payment on the city side, that circle you have, cut it in half, part of that budget is what we call debt service. We're paying an average of right now about $23 million a year for our overall debt service. Almost 20% of that is education related. Literally $4.2 million every year for the last 10 years are part of the debt service that take care of the roofs, the repairs, the renovations, and the construction of school buildings. The Board of Education does none of that. And I always say we tend to forget that, well, if we didn't have to pay $4.2 million on debt service from 20 years ago, we'd have $4.2 million to be able to give to the schools for other operations. But the school doesn't do that. They must come to the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed must come to the city or the State Legislative Bonding Commission to request that. They just put it in January, another request for $13 million. Except that 20% of that cost, the city has to pay. So if you tell me there's $13 million, means I've got to come up with about $3 more million to be able to meet that so you can get the bonding if you were to get that bonding from the state.
But you say, now, tengo otra pregunta.
People forget about that piece.
Tengo otro comentario aquí. Usted dice que el Estado no le da suficiente a ustedes, pero el Estado dice que usted están en los primeros 5 que le dan más dinero a la ciudad de New Britain. You guys saying that the state doesn't give you enough, but Representative Sanchez was saying here, first of all, that the state give you guys has given millions of dollars for education, and then New Britain, I think it's in the top 5 city that received the most amount for education, is that the city is not investing enough education compared to other cities.
That's not what the 169 per student performance states. That's really what the misnomer. When we say that we're 168th or 169th in the city, about per student cost, what we spend on per student. That's the total per student cost. That's not what just the city gives. And then people say, well, if you gave more, then you wouldn't have that statistic. Well, if you take a look at the last 6 years, by the way, this was from the Board of Education that came out. It was on Facebook, and they showed a number that actually we averaged an increase, except for 1 year, over the last 6 years or 8 years, we've given an average of another $583 per student.
How much was that?
Another $580, $580 increase.
Yeah.
Not a lot,
yeah.
But the thing is, it went from $11,000 per student, $13,000, whatever it was at that point. We additioned only 1 year back in 2017, 2018, I believe. I don't have it right in front of me. Just off the top of my head. It dropped by $100 per student in terms of that. So actually, the city has provided more or contributed more in the per student cost. Not a tremendous amount, because that gap of $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 per student, depending what numbers you use, depending if you're comparing it to charter or magnet schools, depending if you're changing it to someplace like Avon or Greenwich versus the city or Bridgeport. You know, if you take a look at cities, they have to depend on what is funded statewide. If they don't have that state funding, what would they do? What if they get cut?
This is where we always go into the argument. The state representatives that come in here and they say they give X amount of money, and they say, hey, look at this, you guys on the top giving this, giving the money. One second. Cano, can you give me my yellow pad on top of the desk? And then you have, and I believe when Mayor Stewart comes in and she bring her numbers, this is what we receive.
And she's much better at the numbers than I am.
Yeah, and she fact checked me last time. And then we come in here, Then we have then we have the Board of Ed coming in saying, you know what, we didn't get X amount of money. And then that's the part that gets confusing for the public to figure out who's, and I'm not saying that one is not lying and the other one is telling the truth. We're just trying to figure out what are the proper numbers they receive per pupil, because representative was saying, you know what, we don't get enough credit for the amount of money that we give. And then when he broke down, this is how much we give, and this is the amount that the city gives, and then when you pair the amount what other cities put into education, our numbers doesn't pair it up, per student. So I was trying to figure out, which side is telling the truth.
It's the same. It's the same argument that the state gives that the city gives in many respects. If you look at a state budget and you say, where do we get more money? Theirs is a $22 billion a year. That's what it works out to, right? $44 billion for 2-year budget. And again, I do not pretend to be the expert on the state budget. But you have that $22 billion a year, and you say, well, okay, how do we cut back on that cost in the state? Well, that means you'd have to cut services, or cut employees, or change the benefits plan, or they have to wrestle with that. It's the same on the city side. That if we were to provide more money, as the budget is, the only way to increase the no, that's not true. One of the ways to increase the revenue on a larger scale would be increasing a mill rate. That's the only source. We don't make money in government. We have to increase taxes. So if you increase taxes, if somebody says, well, okay, we want to fund $4 million or $5 million above what the state gets, above what the city gets, we could do that. That's $2.7 million per mill rate. So we'd have to increase the mill rate by 2 mills just to pour more money into education. It's not like you can take from Peter to pay Paul. Take them from the water department or the park and recreation department, and because what you're doing is you take that money, you're laying people off. Right. You're diminishing services. You don't lay people off without cost. No one ever thinks about that. They don't talk about it. You have to pay back their vacation, their sick time. You have to pay their unemployment compensation.
And we're not saying that. Do you believe
that's worst case scenario?
Then I will ask you the same question that I asked the representative and asked Nancy, Sarah, and now I ask the alderman. If half of the budget goes into education, and the city's saying, you know what, we put in money, we invest in money. The state saying we invest in money, and everyone's investing money, but we're not getting a positive result. Should the state take over? Should the state take over the schools to take care of the problem?
No, I think frankly think that the state has a hard enough time taking care of its own budget than trying to take over any education budget.
But we saw when they took over Del Loretto School. Yeah, I believe it was Del Loretto. The building was improved, and is one of the schools on the top. Now, another question. You also said
if the building was improved, where did the money come from? It came from bonding. It came from the state. So all they did was increase their overall deficit in the state in order to improve that school and who knows how many other schools around the state.
You also said
it wasn't magic that it happened. Somebody had to pour money into that, and it had to come from, it had to be subsidized probably from the state. It probably were most of any of your equipment, I should say, any of your construction and capital projects on that scale are coming out of the state.
Now you also said that Smalley cost the city X amount of millions, but isn't that state bonding money? It didn't cost the city. How much did it cost really the city?
I'd have to look at I'm on the school building committee too, but there's a percentage of that.
They're usually 80-20% or something like that. 80 from the state and 20% from the city.
Usually 80-20, correct.
So it does that mean that it didn't cost the city $40 million. It'll really cost them less if the total amount.
Well, no, it doesn't cost you overall. But if you take into the fact that you're paying an interest rate on bonding and you're paying that, it's like anything else.
But it's not city bonding money. It's the state bonding money.
When you buy a $15,000 car, you end up paying $19,000 for it.
Yeah. But
it's the same thing in bonding.
Yeah, but to be honest,
people forget that. It's not like it's not like a C-Cord loan.
But we have to be. But let's be honest about this. If the state is making the bond, eventually our tax monies are involved in that.
Absolutely.
But if it was on, let's put it on their credit card, it's on their tab. We can't claim it to be in our tab. So that means that if the school costs $40 million, the city can't say, it cost us $40 million. No, it didn't cost you because you didn't bond that money.
Well, I didn't say it, but I never said it cost us $42 million. I said that's the cost of it. Okay. The fact is, it's still I didn't. You're right. We get the bonding, $42 million, and then that has to be paid over time
by city or by the state.
By the city.
The total amount. I thought that the bonding money came from the state. I thought the school.
Those
the
are
state,
grant funds.
I thought the state says, you know what, we're going to give you. We pay 80%, but the city got to put 20% of this money.
Those are certain bonding issues, not all of them. You're still.
So you're saying, but I'm going back to Smalley School. Smalley School, was it a total bonding money that it cost the city of New Britain, the $42 million?
The total cost was $42 million. That's where it is now. It was actually higher than that, but because the bonding commission actually diminished the overall
so the state of Connecticut, so the state of Connecticut didn't take a loan for that school. We did. We took the full blunt on that money.
We have to pay back on that. Yeah.
On the total amount of money or the total cost of that school.
a percentage of, again, if you use the 80-20, and I can't really say exactly how the 42 million piece works. But
what I was thinking, because this is
roll that into our debt service.
This is the part that I'm confused. I thought that the state had bonded that project, and in return, the city of New Britain had to pay around 20% of the total debt of that school.
Oh, and that may be about right. And that's about $8 million.
Okay.
Not compounded in terms of whatever it might be in terms of interest. I mean, it's
right.
It's 20% overall. It's not just the $8 million.
I'm just thinking about today. Now I don't want to think about tomorrow.
But when
tomorrow's a rough day.
But remember, when we bond, we put that into our overall what we have bonded. So we can go up to I guess the number we use is $360 million. We're at about $240, $260 right now in terms of debt service, which includes all forms of capital projects. We're paying interest on that every year. We're paying $23 million right now.
Okay, now that we're talking about ¿cuántos préstamos tiene la ciudad de New Britain en estos momentos? How many bonds that the city of New Britain right now is paying on?
Oh, God, I actually have a list here.
Okay.
I can give you all the education ones. I don't have all the others.
Just roughly. Do we have only one? Let's look at it as for the average folks out here, because sometimes we get. Do we have 1 loan, 2 loans, 3 loans, 4 loans, 5 loans?
Our Smalley academic renovations for 2017-18, and I have other numbers here, was $2,300,000. That's round off those figures.
Okay, that was the portion the city had to pay.
Debt service interest is $1.6 million, and the overall cost on line 208 is $2,383,000.
But roughly, how many loans do we have?
You have last year we had 6.
Okay.
The year before we had 4 because some got paid off, if you will, and then we increased others. And at one point we were paying small amounts, everything from, I'll list it right now: New Britain High School Bridge, addition to the bridge, New Britain High School Portables, New Britain Bridge, Gaffney Roof, De Loretto Roof, Smalley Roof, New Britain High School Roof. You want me to go down the list?
Right. Well, because the question
you getting my point?
Yeah. The reason that I'm bringing that up as a follow, because I know when Mayor Stewart came in, the list was longer.
When Mayor Stewart came in, you're right, in 12-13, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 projects.
14 projects.
We paid off a lot on that.
Right.
Yeah. So between 2013 and 2019, and partly because of how we restructured our debt.
Correct. Well, that's where we were trying to.
In part, I don't mean the whole can of worms, but that's.
Do we owe more now, or we owe less than 2013 as a total?
Well, let's see. As the mayor stated, we have cut almost $65 million out of the city budget in the last 5 years.
Okay.
And that part of that cut goes into how we restructure debt service. Remember, we cut literally over 23 million. We cut 9 million, 12 million. I'm trying to remember exactly. Out of, and this is like 4 years ago, where we actually, because sometimes bonding, you bond for $10 million and you end up only using $3.5 million at that point in time. You don't pay on the other $6.5 million.
So what happened with the money that you don't use?
You rescind it. You don't have to pay the money. Well, it's not actual money.
Right. No, it's like a credit. So if you don't use, if you don't use it, you send it back. I mean, you don't pay on that, or
you don't have to pay on.
But do you have the? But is the city able to take that different and use it on something else?
No, because all it is just means you're not paying on. Well.
Let's suppose the project costs you $10 million. You only use $7 million. You say, "Hey, I got a credit of $3 million. Can I use that $3 million for something else?"
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You are bonded for what you. What it does though is diminish your overall bond ceiling, so that later on you could. $1 million project, we can have that because we've lowered that and we become more qualified. Okay. Because remember, it's not just about the bonding; it's also about how you're managing those bonds. How the bond credits folks in the sky look at it, how they determine that. Those are all things all things have to be considered. You just can't go willy-nilly bonding yourself to.
No. Let me just give a little thing for our people. Para la gente no está escuchando, estamos hablando de los bonds. For the average folks, we're going to simplify it as a loan.
And I apologize, because it gets complicated.
Son préstamos de la ciudad. La razón que a veces tenemos ciertas deudas, porque para hacer muchos de los trabajos y servicios a la ciudad tienen que sacar el préstamo. Y él estaba hablando que cuando comenzó la alcaldesa Erin Stewart, había muchísimos préstamos comparados a los que están ahora, porque muchos de los préstamos fueron consolidados y la estructura que ella trajo para reducir la deuda causó que bajaran. Hablando acerca de eso, since time's flying when we're having a good time, you stated that
Speak for yourself.
You stated that for the 5 years debt reduction has been, and that has been under your watch too, because you've been
Well, it's not all bonding. Those 65 million comes from
total
eliminating vacancies that get funded or don't get funded, but they get put in an operating budget. For example, we have eliminated all vacancies in every single department.
Has that been under your watch also that victory?
Has that been what?
Been under your watch also?
All of it.
Okay. And that's the part that I'm going to lead into.
Yeah.
¿Usted piensa correr este año otra vez para el concilio de la ciudad de New Britain? Are you planning to run again for the city of Alderman for the city of New Britain?
I am seriously considering it. I refuse to say anything until I figure out.
Él dice que está considerando seriamente correr para el concilio. ¿Este sería su tercer término o segundo término? This will be your second or third term.
This will be my fourth term.
Este será su cuarto término de estar corriendo o el cuarto término de servirle al concilio. Este sería el cuarto término del concilio de correr como en el concilio. ¿Cuál ha sido la satisfacción más grande de usted durante estos tres términos? What has been your biggest satisfaction as an alderman during the last three during this, you go on to the fourth, but on the 3 terms here?
Wow. You know, Carmelo, there are so many things that I'm really pleased that have been done. We've had more jobs being created. We have done tremendous improvements in our park systems, which we think are important. You know, there's lots of different ways to help children, and one of them is not just in the classroom. It's outside the classroom. It's accessibility to clean air and parks and programs. You know, the mayor has been so instrumental in that. So that's a big thing for me. I think parks are key to all of that. That we've been able to restructure for the long term. That people say, well, you're kicking things kicking the can down the road again. Well, that's just how you manage your budget. You manage your budget in the same way in a household. You know, there's things you justify. You say, well, I'm not going to get this. I have to get something else, and you can't forecast all the things that can happen in your own family sometimes, and you can't do it in a community. I think we've done. The mayor, in particular's office, has done a tremendous effort in managing that. I think we've looked at public safety. I think this is the safest city in the state of Connecticut, and I always say that. Take a look at the numbers. Take a look at the relationship with the police department. You who actually are someone who serves on this police department are certainly a contributor to that. And I thank you for your time and your effort.
Gracias.
So we look at public safety. We look at the fire department. I mean, I just can go on and on.
Right.
If you look at the city, it's it's just a cleaner city all the way around. Do we have problems? Do we have blight? Yes. That's no one like surprised us when people would talk about how blight was handled or what was. It's been an ongoing project throughout the city for the last 5 or 6 years. Is there more to do? Sure, but keep in mind, this is a city of 13.3 square miles, 73 or more thousand people, 10,000 students in our school system, 162 miles of road. That's from here to New York City and back halfway.
Right.
That's how many roads that we have to maintain and take care of.
Yeah.
So when we look at, we've got issues with that. We depend on LoCIP funds, for example, from the state to fix our roads.
Right.
If that dries up from the state, where do we get that? How do we maintain those services? Those are things we just can't do. And the last thing is to let the public realize that we are in a city that 48% of all our property is not taxable. And that's a problem.
That's going to be part two.
Why am I proud of that? I'm proud of that because it's important to have the conversation.
Right. Now the big question is, you might not run. You haven't made a decision. But if you make the decision, why should anyone vote for you and give you that fourth time opportunity?
Well, one is I don't write new laws all the time, first of all. I believe I make the old laws work. So when they come up, there's so many ordinances we want to look at that we've tried to change and we have changed. That I want to continue constituency services. I want to continue having people have the conversation about their government and their community. That's why I have my coffees for open government.
Mira, ¿verdad que sí? Quiero recordar a la gente que este es el caballero que yo estaba anunciando, I announced it here. Este es el alderman, el caballero que todos los meses saca un tiempo, el cual hemos anunciado, para que usted beba café con él en un sitio y se una para hacerle las preguntas o las preocupaciones que tiene la ciudad. Este es el señor Dan Solano, que siempre hablamos, una vez al mes, él se une para sentarse a hablar y beber café con ustedes.
And I've had 38 of those. I would continue them. The next one's June 8th at the Back Nine Tavern, which is near the golf course. By the way, the golf course is a public golf course, and it's a public restaurant, and everyone's invited to come and visit it and see it. And that's from 9:30 to 1 o'clock on June 8th. But I haven't. That's unofficial, by the way, because I still have to finalize those times. But I do it every 6 weeks.
Junio 8, va a decir June 8th. Junio 8 de 9 a 1 está poniendo tentativamente el horario para las personas que quieren sentarse y hablar con él, beberse un cafecito y preguntarle las preguntas acerca de la ciudad.
If something changes, then I'll let people know.
Okay.
So I want to be accessible to constituents. I want to answer their problems and their questions, and I want to encourage people to be more part of their community through their government. And so if I can do that much, that's what I want to be able to do should I finally decide to run.
Gracias, señor Solano. Tiempo se nos fue tan rápido. Fue un placer, un honor tener con nosotros del Concilio de la Ciudad Nobrita el señor Dan Solano, que lleva 3 términos y esperamos que pueda correr el 4º término para el concilio aquí. Un hombre que se ha esforzado a la ciudad. One request we're going to ask is to please allow your colleagues to come. Tell them that I want to put another month for month of June. We want to put another day to come down. And I always ask Alderman Rosado has been here, and the seat gets real hot for him too. He's the only brave one, but I'm asking, the rest of the aldermen that they're willing to, I invite them all. I always say, hey, anyone come to the show and bring. Yesterday I have asked Ms. Katie Breslin. She said she was going to come. I also had extended the invitation to Richard Reyes. I have extended my invitation to Alderman Santiago, los Latinos, los Americanos, Afroamericanos. I asked them all to come down, and
Salerno shows up.
And Salerno shows up, and Rosado shows up. And I got to say that I would love to have both of you. I'd like to hear both sides so we can have a balance. But time has flown. Once again, thank you for coming to 96.9 FM. We got you. We're going to set up something in the calendar for June. So we can come back, and there's a couple, so we can get back into some of the issues that the city have.
And thank you for having me. And again, everyone is important in this community.
Right.
If this radio station reaches just one other person that's never been involved before, I'm thankful for that opportunity. So it's important that everyone recognize that you really have you have a responsibility to the community, as I have a responsibility to you as an elected official.
Muchas gracias. Por eso que te apreciamos mucho. That's why we appreciate what you do. Muchas gracias. Estuvieron aquí con Carmelo y el pueblo. Y como siempre, ¿y ahora qué?
Nuestra programación les llega con una aportación de las siguientes firmas.
El centro de New Britain tiene todo lo necesario para sus compras, desde la plaza de New Britain en la calle East Main hasta las tiendas en la calle Main. Son lugares para encontrar, sí que vas a encontrar comida, ropa, entretenimiento y alquiler de apartamento. No olvides de visitar nuestro centro en New Britain y les aseguraremos que encontrará todo lo que usted necesita. Llámenos al centro de visitantes al 860-229-0878 o si nos puedes conseguir a través de kerry@newbritandd.com para obtener cualquier otra información. Gracias por visitar nuestro centro New Britain.
La Iglesia Universal de Jesucristo Incorporada y sus pastores Joel Rivera y Carmen Julie Elisier les invitan a sus nuevas facilidades en el 150 Production Court, New Britain, Connecticut. Martes, escuela bíblica, 7 de la noche. Jueves, oración, 7 de la noche. Viernes, culto de sociedades, 7 de la noche. Domingo, culto evangelístico, 12:30 del mediodía. Primer domingo de cada mes, ayuno congregacional, 7 de la mañana. Recuerda, seguiremos avanzando con firmeza. Para información, 203-737-0088.
South Main Street Laundromat, localizado en el 182 de la South Main Street en New Britain, Connecticut, y abierto los 7 días de la semana, de 7:30 de la mañana y último lavado a las 9 de la noche. En South Main Street Laundromat usamos el equipo más moderno, que incluye desinfectante, el cual produce un lavado más eficiente. También servicio de lavado, secado y doblado. El secado es gratis con el lavado. Para información, comunícate al 860-225-7627. Ese es el número, 860-225-7627.
El Concilio de Iglesias de Dios Pentecostés y el Ministerio de Mujeres Déboras a la Conquista presenta nuestro gran congreso de mujeres bajo el lema Pelea Guerrera.
Pelea guerrera, no te detengas, que Él está contigo, nunca te dejará.
Los días 24 y 25 de mayo, comenzando el viernes 24 a las 7 de la noche y el sábado 25 desde las 11 de la mañana. Y en la palabra del Señor, el evangelista Randy Island.
Creo que los demonios no obedecen ningún idioma, solo la unción. A ellos solo respetan la unción, amado.
Este gran evento se llevará a cabo en la Iglesia de Dios Pentecostés, ubicado en el 75 de Zion Street, Hartford, Connecticut, donde pastorea el reverendo Nelson Negrón. Esto es un evento que no te lo puedes perder. Pelea Guerrera. Te invitan los pastores Eduardo Soto y Wanda Osorio. Para más información llame 860-830-3651. Te invita Jehová el Guerrero y te espera el Espíritu Santo.
Ensanchando el territorio. Ensanchando el territorio. Culto especial pro templo. Viernes 31 de mayo, 7 de la noche. En el mensaje a dúo, el pastor Joel Rivera y el pastor Santos González. Esto será en la Iglesia Universal de Jesucristo, un refugio espiritual. En la 150 Production Court, Suite A, New Britain, Connecticut. Para información, 203-737-0088. 203-737-0088.
La Iglesia de Dios Pentecostés Inc., localizada en el 75 de la Zion Street en Hartford, Connecticut, les invita a una gran campaña evangelística bajo el tema Decídete a aceptarlo en tu vida hoy. Los días 10, 11 y 12 de mayo del 2019, comenzando a las 7 de la noche. En la poderosa palabra de Dios estará desde Puerto Rico Eddie Rivera Candelita. Separa la fecha, los días 10, 11 y 12 de mayo 2019. Gran campaña evangelística. Te esperamos.
Que me entregues tu alma y tu vida.
This is WPRF 96.9, New Britain, Hartford.
Más caros anhelos, Señor, quiero vivir para ti, vivir para hacer lo que tú quieras, aunque no sea de mi agrado, pero que te agrade a ti. A Dios yo a este mundo, fijo mi mirada ante ti. Muerto, viviré al pecado, a este mundo depravado, estoy vivo para ti. Muerto, viviré al pecado, a este mundo depravado, estoy vivo para ti. Muerto, al pecado muerto, vivo mi Dios, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti. No muriera al caer en tierra, su fruto no puede germinar. Dice la ley de la siembra que lo que se siembra tiene que morir. Muerto como el trigo que germina, yo quiero morir. Muerto, viviré al pecado, a este mundo depravado, estoy vivo para ti. Muerto, viviré al pecado, a este mundo depravado, estoy vivo para ti. Muerto, al pecado muerto, vivo mi Dios, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti. Muerto, al pecado muerto, vivo mi Dios, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti. Señor, quiero estar al pecado muerto, pero vivo, vivo para ti.
¿Alguna vez ha considerado usted en anunciar su negocio en la radio? Pues la radio es el medio más poderoso para dar a conocer a su negocio. Así que, amigo comerciante, les damos la más cordial invitación a que promueva su negocio en nuestra emisora con una donación mensual de bajo costo y al mismo tiempo nos ayuda a seguir hacia adelante. Recuerde que anunciar su negocio no es un lujo, es una necesidad. Para más información, comuníquese con el presidente de esta emisora, José Rubert, al 860-922-6473. Recuerde, 860-922-6473. Radio Restauración 96.9 es una emisora comunitaria sin fines de lucros, pero su aportación es muy importante para poder costear los gastos que nos permiten seguir en el aire.
La iglesia Huerto del Edén, localizada en el 106 de la New Park Avenue en Hartford, Connecticut, les presenta la programación Dádivas de Salvación, Sanidad y Liberación, este y todos los sábados de 8 a 9 de la noche. Así que recuerda, este y todos los sábados de 8 a 9 de la noche, Dádivas de Salvación, Sanidad y Liberación, Dádivas de Salvación, Sanidad y Liberación, a través de Restauración 96.9.
Hay un hombre que ha sido llamado y que todo tuvo que dejar, pues de Dios él ha recibido un llamado para pastorear. Y él se preocupa por los que se ausentan, por aquellos que lo hacen llorar. Y es que él vive muy unido a esta iglesia que lo sabe amar. Y es un pastor que cuida las ovejas, por ellas se desvela en ruego y oración. Es un pastor que cuida las ovejas, por ellas se desvela en ruego y oración. Pastor, sé que no es fácil pastorear, sigue adelante, que Dios te ayudará. Oh pastor, sigue adelante hasta el final con esta iglesia que siempre te amará. Que ha sido llamado y que todo tuvo que dejar, pues de Dios él ha recibido un llamado para pastorear. Y él se preocupa por los que se ausentan y por aquellos que lo hacen llorar. Y es que él vive muy unido a esta iglesia que lo sabe amar. Y es un pastor que cuida las ovejas, por ellas se desvela en ruego y oración. Es un pastor que cuida las ovejas, por ellas se desvela en ruego y oración. Pastor, sé que no es fácil pastorear, sigue adelante, que Dios te ayudará. Oh pastor, sigue adelante hasta el final con esta iglesia que siempre te amará. pastorear. Sigue adelante, que Dios te ayudará. Oh pastor, sigue adelante hasta el final con esta iglesia que siempre te amará.
Una sola señal, una sola frecuencia.
WPRF 96.9 FM.
96.9 FM. WPRF.
Escasean las palabras al intentar lo que él es describir. Hay tanto que decir.
Parece tan corto el tiempo cuando alguien se sumerge profundo en ti, adorándote así.
Porque Él es la razón de mi fe, el motivo que me hace creer que todo en ti lo podré. Él es quien te da nuevas fuerzas, Él es quien tu vida sustenta.
Él pelea por mí,
me defiende así.
Su poder no tiene fin. Él es quien a vencer me enseña en el centro de la tormenta.
Solo quiero adorar
y me lleno de paz
con las letras de su nombre pronunciar.
Él es luz en las tinieblas. Todo aquel que a Él se acerca encontrará por donde caminar, lleno de paz.
Eres agua que refresca a cualquier alma sedienta que anhele de sus manos tomar.
Quien al cautivo le da libertad, el que te sana en la enfermedad, te levanta al desmayar. Él es quien te da nuevas fuerzas, Él es quien tu vida sustenta.
Él pelea por mí,
me defiende así.
Su poder no tiene fin. Él es quien a vencer me enseña en el centro de la tormenta.
Solo quiero adorar
y me lleno de paz
con las letras de su nombre pronunciar.
Su nombre. Él es quien te ayuda en tu debilidad.
Él es quien tus heridas curará.
Este y todos los viernes de 10 a 12 de la noche. Sintoniza el programa Juventud en Restauración. Juventud en Restauración. En su nueva temporada. Con lo mejor de la música urbana, con un mensaje positivo. Tendremos música, reflexiones, testimonios y mucho más. Un programa especialmente para ti, joven.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Recuerda, este y todos los viernes de 10 a 12 de la noche. No te pierdas el programa Juventud en Restauración en su nueva temporada. A través de WPRF 96.9.
Pídete lo que tú quieras antes que se ha levantado el cielo, antes que se ha levantado el cielo.
Y Eliseo le contestó: una doble porción de tu espíritu sobre mí, una doble porción de tu espíritu sobre mí. Y cuando Elías se levantó, el manto se le cayó y Eliseo lo recogió con poder. Y con el manto de la unción, el Jordán se dividió, fue con el manto de la unción. Y no fue el manto ni Eliseo que dividió el Jordán. Y no fue el manto ni Eliseo, fue la unción de Jehová. Y no fue el manto ni Eliseo que dividió el Jordán. Y no fue el manto ni Eliseo, fue la unción de Jehová. Elías le dijo a Eliseo: pídeme lo que tú quieras antes que sea levantado al cielo, antes que sea levantado al cielo. Y Eliseo le contestó: una doble porción de tu espíritu sobre mí, una doble porción de tu espíritu sobre mí.